Scratching on the head. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Hour. We're over the hump. We're on the way down. It's Thursday, and it is the 20th of March. And thanks for taking the time out of your day to join me here on Coffee Hour. If you're behind the scenes over on Instagram, come on over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Master the NEC. Or, of course, you can go to Fast Tracks Tube and watch there as well. Just go to the live show link and you can watch us on that platform as well. Of course, you can also watch over on our Facebook pages, Master the NEC, as well as LinkedIn on our Electrical Code Academy page or on my own personal account over on LinkedIn. Just search for Paul Abernathy if you want to connect over on LinkedIn. All that business jizz and jazz and all that kind of stuff. So, and I say that actually, yes, jizz and jazz. That's what it is over on LinkedIn. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Glad to have you here. If you didn't join us, if it's your first time joining us, first of all, welcome to the show. But you missed a lot because over the last couple weeks, we have really done some calculations. We have gone over the standard method for single family, optional method for multifamily, for single family. We've done the standard method for multifamily. We did a 12-unit complex. We did a 6-unit complex. We did a optional method just the beginning of this week for a 6-unit complex, and we did the 12-unit, and we did the optional yesterday for the individual unit. And so there was a lot of information there that you could have taken. Any little piece would help you on an exam, prepare for an exam. Speaking of which, today's show, we are kind of focused on exam prep because I have been getting quite a few emails lately from a lot of people that are preparing or are nervous. We should put it this way. A lot of people that have been emailing in are very nervous about taking their exam. And I just want to talk about that today. So if you're not here for the exam prep, again, you're still going to learn something because we're going to dig deeper into the code. We're going to look at some code questions. We're going to dissect it. We'll use the index where necessary. But I'm also going to give you some insights today on preparing for exams or preparing for anything that you may be doing that's going to give you a high anxiety level. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. And then say Friday, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do for Friday, but I believe I'm going to talk a little bit about ampacities and do a little lesson on adjustments and corrections. Because again, I'm getting a lot of people that don't understand conductors, ampacity, and adjustment correction. So we're probably going to do a quick little lesson on Friday. So you want to make sure you stay tuned for that. And then next week, I'm going to jump into another series. I'm not exactly 100% sure yet. But I think I'm going to jump into some residential series, some what I like to call code rules that you just should commit to memory. And so we're going to start a residential deep dive next week, and it's going to be out of our residential program. So you want to make sure you join us for that. And of course, you can ask any question you want. Okay. Now, also, we had a question yesterday that was posted, and I didn't get to, or I didn't answer it because, again, it was right at the end of the show. I just want you to know that I emailed the individual directly, maybe here or not today, and I able to answer that question for them when it comes to that. And obviously, their question was about if you had a multifamily building and had lighting in there that is 277-480, would you be able to apply the 310.12, the 83%, or was there anywhere else in the code that would allow you to do that? And the answer to that is no. 310.12 is very specific to dwelling units. So you would take the commercial area and treat it just like a commercial area and apply and use part 3 as normal for that. And then the dwelling areas, individual units, you may or may not be able to use the 83% if you're supplying a feeder to an individual dwelling unit. And it meets all the rules in 310.12. It really doesn't matter what the commercial part's being done. It's the individual unit, then I ought to be able to apply the 83% rule if I meet all of the rules in 310.12, that type of thing. But there was no other rule in there that's going to give you a break when it comes to the lighting. And the other issue is you're never going to have the multifamily where the commercial part of the building is going to do anything within your individual dwelling unit. That would be a violation in the National Electrical Code, because your individual dwelling unit can only supply loads that are in your individual dwelling unit, right? Not outside that dwelling unit. So I think it's like 210.25 or something. So important to understand that we don't want to mingle the two. And that's why I didn't want to talk about it on the episode, because what it does is it intermingles two thought patterns that can cause a great deal of confusion. And of course, I was running out of time yesterday, so there's just no way I could get into it. Right. So that's why it's important to watch all the episodes that you come here for. Okay. So you don't just have to be exam prep to come here. We're here to chill, have some coffee, talk about whatever you want to talk about, share with me. And like I always say, I live vicariously through you, the student, and the member, the family member that joins us. I get tons of emails, text messages, let's say it's Paul messages, and I appreciate all of them. One thing I will say, that I don't leave people hanging the best I can. I try to answer every question I can, whether I can do it live or in a podcast or in an email. I try to stay engaged with everybody. I will never, ever, and I've made that commitment in my career, I would never, ever get to the point where I didn't feel like I could answer another electrician's question, because you know what? At the end of the day, that's what I am. I'm an electrician, and I just focus on dealing on code and that type of thing. So again, I love this trade, so I'm dedicated to it, definitely. So at any rate, I also like knowing who you are, where you're from, if you're in our programs. So do me a favor, in the chat, whatever platform you're on, make sure you let me know your name, where you're from, if you're a fast track student or not, what you're doing, if you're taking a test soon. Maybe post what's your biggest question, what's your biggest fear about taking an exam if you're preparing for an exam. Or maybe you've already taken your exam, and maybe you can help everybody by posting something in the comments that says, you know what, I psyched myself out for the exam. Because at the end of the day, and we'll talk about some things today, but when you think about an exam, I think vast majority of people, we don't like exams. And we don't want to many people don't want to put themselves in that position where they're stressed out with an exam. So I get it. So it's the reason that we say 90 days of study, dedicated study, is to raise that comfort level, so that the time that you go into an exam, that you have that confidence level. But the problem is, a lot of times people will schedule their exams so far out, and we want them to study, but they peak at a certain point rather than pacing themselves. They'll peak, and then they have all this time before they take the exam to start letting doubt creep in. Or they get a question that they can't answer, and they think that their exam's going to have nothing but questions like that they can't answer. And then their anxiety level starts creeping up. And that's when I start getting the emails and the calls, and like, I don't think I'm ready. I'm like, just go through the program, go through the Fast Tracks program, take your time, dissect the questions, use the database, use the Fast Tracks Interact feature to ask questions if you have them in the program. Relax. Everything that you need is in our program. You just have to understand that we can't give you the exact questions that are going to be an exam, but the format and the way they ask the questions are very similar. And it just, the competency review questions in our program are tough, because most of the time they're not multiple choice. Right? So when we look at the database questions, and we'll look at them today, they're multiple choice, and that's what you're going to have on an exam. So relax, you're going to have choices. Also, I tell everybody, if you go through an exam, you must be using our 3-wave method. There is no other way that you should be tackling an exam. 3-wave method, and we have a video on that that's on our Fast Tracks Tube website, but I believe it's also over on our YouTube. Just search for 3-wave method, and you'll be able to find it. Okay. All right, let's do some shout outs real quick to the folks that are in the room, because again, I love having you all here. Tino, welcome. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday. And Tino is setting the tone today. The hashtag win will get you in on the spin. The drawing is coming up here in a couple weeks. So get in on that, see if you can win some goodies. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining us. And Paul is following along in his hashtag win as well. Adam's in the house. And Adam is our official spokesperson on all of our social media. He's got all of his nerdware, and he posts it. So good morning, Adam. Thank you for coming. Charles is in the house. Good morning. Glad to have you here. Erie's in the house. Good morning. Over on Fast Tracks 2, by the way. So watching over on that platform. Let's see here. Good morning, Felix. Thanks for joining us here on Coffee Hour. Glad you could spend your Thursday with us. And Helix is definitely getting in on the win. Rob is in the house over on Fast Tracks Tube. A large number of people are starting to watch over on the Tube. So I'm assuming they like how that's delivered because we have all intended purposes to expand that platform and add more stuff. So we like how it's going. Okay. Let's see. Tino says, thank you for that grounding class. So that was a replay where we do a lot of replays. And I know that on your network, wherever you're at, whether you're in Facebook or over on YouTube, wherever it is, I know that it says live and they're not live. The problem with that is I can't change the delivery system, right? So that's what EV Mux does. When you go live, so technically it's live, but it's not live because I'm not there. The ones that are live are always at 8 a.m. in the morning. Anything else is probably going to be a replay. But it's just always great to catch the replay, share it with other people, and you never know what you can get out of it. Sometimes you get more out of it the second time you watch something because you're allowed to pause it and reflect on it, that type of thing. What's up, Jonathan? Southern Tennessee's in the house. Thank you, Jonathan. Glad to have you here. Frank is doing the hashtag win. Glad to have you here, Frank. Let's see here. We got Rob. Good morning from ice and snow wintry mixed land. Oh, Lord, don't say that. I have got to leave. Give an update for everybody. There will be replays Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. So I just remembered. I said I was going to do something on Monday. I can't. I'm glad I just remembered that because they're going to be replays because I am out of town. And so I am teaching some seminars up in Minnesota. So those will be replays. I'm glad I remembered that just now because I told y'all I was going to do something Monday and all intents and purposes I was. But all intended plans, I guess I got to. So it's going to be replays. Okay. Sorry. Just remembered that. Good morning. Almost Beatbox Friday. It's almost here. Dominic. Thanks for joining us, Dominic, over on YouTube. Daniel's in the house. Daniel Fulham, good morning. Glad to have you here. Robert down in San Antonio. Robert, thanks for joining us. I believe Robert's an IAEI member as well, I believe. Let's see here. Gracefield Life, good morning. Cold, 38 in the hill country. It is 46 degrees here in Central Virginia. So you can keep that 38. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for joining me this morning. Rob, good morning in Minnesota. I will see your Minnesota in less than a week. I'll be up there. Good morning, Terrence. I'm up in DC, Maryland, Virginia contractor. Thanks for joining us. David Scott's in the house. Thank you for joining us. I need to start setting up theme music for everybody so that when I can push theme music, because I got an unlimited number of musics and themes now since I subscribe to Upbeat. And that keeps me from getting all these strikes on YouTube and all, because now our company pays for this music and these little things. So it's amazing how that, So let's see here. Let's see. Erie's got a question this morning. It says, what is the purpose of having two methods of calculation other than money savings? I wanted to ask you yesterday, but ran out of time. You mean with the traditional method versus the optional method? The optional method takes into diversity, no different than the standard method. We need the standard method for sizing neutrals. There are some occasions where the standard method may yield a better result, but I wouldn't say the NEC cares about the money. It's not a money thing. Now, reality for us, it ends up being money because just by virtue of the fact that if the optional method is, has more diversity in it and how you calculate it, then in that scenario, we went from 1,000 amp service to an 800 amp. That just saves money, but that's not the intent of the NEC. So the NEC is using diversity, whether or not the standard or the traditional method, or gives you an optional. I like having options, but I think it's historically the optional methods is bringing in a lot more diversity because you're taking nameplates from everything, understanding that everything is not going to be running at the same time. So it allows you to have some of that diversity in there, and it just ultimately yields. Now, as far as historian, I can't tell you. I don't have the knowledge of going back. I'm a code panel member, but I only have. I'm not a historian. A lot of times, people will send me stuff and want to know why did the code do this back in 1940s and 50s, and I'm like, shit, I don't know. I don't care because I'm not a historian. Now, if I have to do research on something for an old dwelling or whatever, and I have to bring relevant codes, if I'm going to be in court or something like that, that's different. That's research. But really, to be honest with you, I only care about the latest codes, and then the ones that I teach, right? So I have to always be prepared to know 2023, 2020, 2017, things like that. But then I usually just block everything else out because I don't really care. So I can't tell you the significance, and I'm sure there's historians out there that will. But for me, I just know that we have two methods. I always realize that from me, if we don't want to make it money, if I take the code out of it and I'm thinking about money, well, then I am thinking about what's easier on me. And obviously, I'd like to put an 800 rather than 1,000 in. I'd like smaller conductors, okay, and less raceways and all that stuff. Just from a contractor, it's less money and things like that. And of course, if I'm bidding against somebody that's using this traditional method and I'm using the optional method, I'm probably going to win the bid because I'm using the optional method. Okay, but the NEC doesn't care about it. It just gives you options, and it's kind of like what the NEC does when it's permissive, things like that. When it gives you have what's called a mandatory rule: you shall do this, you shall do that. And then it says it shall be permitted to do something. It's kind of like an optional. It says like, I'll let you do this. And it may result in something that's a little more lenient than what the shall be requirement may be. But we got options. So at least this, I like that in the code. At least I've got options, right? It's not so rigid. They give me only one way and that's it. That type of scenario. It's the best I can give you on that one. Edgar, good morning. Thanks for joining me. Let's see. John, Paul, you literally just described you. I did the program and now I'm worried I finished too soon. Yeah, my recommendation, John, is to go back into your program if you still have access, depending on whether you're in the 12-month one. If you've gone 12 months and you haven't taken an exam, then that is usually where I do worry with some students. Unless something in life changed and you had to pull out of a program and you were dormant for a while. In the old black, in the 2017, the black and the plus, they do expire after 12 months. And so it is tough because if anybody's in a program and they draw it out 12 months, because we tell people about 90 days to be ready. So that's where you should time out kind of position your timing to take the exam. Is about 90 days. Can you do it quicker than that? Absolutely. It all depends on how up you are in the code and how much time you want to put into it. But if you peak really early and then you have all this downtime, especially considering in our program, you have over 800 exam style questions, plus hundreds of the competency review questions. If you've gone through every one of those and you've done the timed tests and you've done everything, and now you've got weeks, if not months remaining, it's going to be tough because the doubt's going to creep in. You got to remember that some of the questions that you may find out there are poorly written questions. And so sometimes they don't give you a lot of information. And of course, you're trying to dissect it and there's no magic to this. You just have to get used to doing it. So go back and take some of your existing questions. And even though you may know the answer because you've done it, that's okay. Take the question. Now you're struggling with searching and finding answers to questions. This is where you take the question and you dissect it out and you look at all the words and you start using the table of contents, you use index and really see what's in the back of that book, that type of thing. And then also to kill your anxiety, I recommend at this point, one of the tips that I do for people back when I was teaching the live courses this is the perfect time for you in that time between the peak of taking your courses and preparing and then the wait period. This is where I would get index cards and just sit down and just physically, not the electronic ones, go get some index cards because you're training the brain now, and basically just get used to writing on one side the article, on the other side the code reference, and work through it and create flashcards, because you learn as you create the flashcards for all the articles, all of the important tables, not all the definitions, but some of the key definitions, just so you understand. So by doing that process in this time that you have, this period between where you peaked and the time before you take an exam, I recommend doing that because it keeps the mind engaged in it, and you are able to start just quoting code sections and quote articles and things like that. And it's just going to make you better, and it's going to build on top of all the studying you've just done. So that's my advice to kind of get your nerves down, that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Good morning, Angel. I am doing good. Thanks for joining me today. Let's see here. What we got? Adam says Fast Tracks too, but it's TRAX, folks. Okay. The reason I say that is because I had a guy contact me the other day, and I realized he was just a spam guy, and he was just doing this to do it. Said to me, "Hey, Paul, I'm getting spam from about Fast Tracks in the tolls, and why are you spamming me?" I'm like, "Dude, how do you spell Fast Tracks?" And he spelled it out, and I was like, "That ain't us, right? Ours is FASTTRAX. That's what I have the trademark on. Okay, nothing else. It ain't track, TRACK. It ain't TRAC. It's Fast Tracks. Okay, and it only pertains to electrical." So his had to do with tolls. So he got some text, and he was like, "Whoa." Then I realized he was just fishing, and he just, he probably ain't even a student. He's just trying to get me to engage so we, do something, and that's the type of thing. And I didn't read all the question here. I'm grateful to have you helping us, oldest son, as you really enjoy it, helping him through school. Thank you so much. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Red Dog. Hola. Buenos dias. Thanks for joining us. I believe you're probably also over on Instagram. Okay. Fast Track students. Starting Unit 8 load. Yes. So Unit 8, Unit 11, and Unit 13. 8, 11, and 13 will definitely test you. Those competency reviews. If you bomb out on it, don't fret. Just take your time. Go back over it again. But they are the toughest units in the entire Fast Tracks program. Don't get discouraged. Stay focused on it. You'll be fine. And of course, utilize Fast Tracks Interact to ask us any questions so that everybody else can also learn, because it also stays up there. So anybody that goes into the Fast Track Interact module will actually see previous questions, and they can just scroll through them and read them and see the answers. It helps everybody. It's kind of like in a perpetual classroom. So if you're not using the Fast Tracks Interact, you need to use it. It's included with your 2020 and 2023 program. So make sure you utilize it. It's built in. It's at the bottom right. You'll see that little blue cloud. That's the Fast Tracks Interact. Okay. It works much better on a desktop than it does on the phone. You have to turn your phone to the side. Otherwise, you've got to, it's a little bit, there's a lot going on. Let's put it that way. All right. Good morning, Kendra. Thanks for having you here. Angel, good morning. I am doing great. After I leave the show today, I've got to go down to Richmond, Virginia, and teach a course for some electricians down in Richmond. Shout out to JM Electric. Okay, so they're down in Richmond, and we'll be teaching a class to their guys today. So let's see here. Yeah, usually, John, that's how you can tell. Usually there's no comments in the replay, that type of thing. That's one way to tell. What's up, Manny? Manny's in the house. Look at that. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Hold on. There you go. I love that green, dude. That's a poppin' green. Did y'all see that again? Look at that. Look at that. That is a poppin' green. Did you wear it on St. Patty's Day too, Sammy? Yeah. Love it. Thanks for wearing that. It's awesome. What's up, Christopher? Thanks for joining us. Let's see here. Rob says, I'm getting ready for a residential electrician's test, and I'm then a code guy, job site. I'm afraid that if I fail, I should have never been in that position. No, don't think that way. Let me get this back again. Okay. Okay, that's a good question. There is also an extra amount of anxiety that a lot of people have if they're the code guy or the code 2 person on a job site and they fail, that other people are going to say, well, you must not be the code guy. Now, first of all, not everybody tests well. Okay. Tests, again, raise anxiety levels that people just don't like tests. For example, now most of the continuing education courses, like in Virginia, if you do it online, you're going to have to take quizzes, and they're not easy. That's why people like the in-person. It used to be everybody would come to seminars live, right? And then everybody said, well, let's go do the online thing because I can do it at home and it's cheaper. And that's great because they used to have no testing. You just to take the exam, you get your 3 hours or whatever it is and you do it. Well, a lot of the states are testing, and Virginia has changed as well. So when you do your CEUs online for Virginia, you got to take a test after every section. And they're not easy. I just did it. And even though I'm a code guy, I was like, these questions, some of these are worded crappy, but it is what it is. You can't change it. And so, but if you take a live in-person CEU course class, then you don't have any tests. So people are going to be transitioning back to joining the live sessions. And we're going to be doing that in Virginia throughout the state here coming up in the summer. And you won't have to take an exam. But online, you're going to have to take quizzes in order to get past it. And you might say that's no big deal, but if you don't test well, then once you already have that license, why the heck do you want to take another test? Unless you're going to another state or something and taking a test. But anyway, so don't feel that way, Rob. It's all good. Just focus. Take your time. Don't let the stuff creep in. You're going to be fine. Just focus on it. You'll be all right. And again, at the end of the day, be like me. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks of me. I don't give a crap what anybody's opinion is of me. I don't care. Like me, hate me, whatever. Doesn't make my world rock. People say that all the time is we're worried about what people think of you. I don't give a rat's ass. I really don't. That's the difference between me and other educators. They go out of their way to make sure that they appeal to their people. I don't. You either like me for what I am or you don't. If you don't like me, don't watch me. Okay? I'm not going to change. That's right. So if I even put on a hat like this and you don't like me, piss off. I'm just saying. I'm not about that. I'm here to teach you code. I don't care whether you're black, white, green, blue, red, pink, Republican, Democrat, independent, whatever. Okay? I just teach code. So I don't care. Okay? So anyway, enough of that. All right. What's up, David? Welcome. Yes. Brian likes the history stuff. Brian Holland was my replacement as the NEMA rep when I left NEMA. Great replacement. And now Brian's kind of oversees all the NEMA reps. And of course, me working with as a director of technical services for Encore Wire and Prismium Corporation. I interact with Brian, and he's great historian. And the thing about historian is he doesn't know it all up here. What he does is he likes to research these things. I do not. I don't collect code books. I don't care about 1900 whatever. I don't give a squat. That's just me. But he likes that stuff, and we need those people that like to do that stuff, But I don't. Let's see here. Cray, what's up? Cray's in the house. Van Man's in the house. Sorry, I'm got a lot of intros, but we did talk about a lot of things. Adam says, will I be doing a live webinar anytime soon? Well, I almost feel like I do one every day, but we do have a live webinar scheduled for this summer. I don't know. It's going to be on grounding and bonding, but we do have one scheduled for that. It'll be on our website when we have it. Okay, but I'll probably mention it here. But yes, we do have one planned for this summer. Let's see here. Good morning, Nick. Thanks for joining me. Adam giving the support for Rob. You got this, and you do. Rob, you got this. Focused. Okay? Focus. Don't let things creep in. You've got it. Jonathan, Paul and Trump rule. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. See, I'll offend a certain level of people, Jonathan, but at my age, I don't really care. That's all right, Richard. Again, anyway, that also says a lot about somebody's own character. If they don't want to watch somebody or engage with somebody or learn from somebody just because they're a political belief or they have difference of opinion, that just shows how petty they are. Not how petty I am, because I don't care how petty they are. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about. Charles says, Paul, if you're looking over a job or checking drawings, do you, for a project, do you do your own calculations and make sure the drawings are correct? I do. So when I was a plans examiner or I was the engineer for the city of Richmond, I redid all calculations. Even though they were submitted by the engineer, I always did it. Now, whether I did the whole building or I did elements of it to just check their work, or to see that their process, because you have to remember a lot of engineers, they're the engineer. So if they're going to stamp it, they may have their own process where they don't follow the NEC. They might have some engineering software or they do something, or maybe they're using ASTRA for the lighting on a commercial building as opposed to the NEC and something like that. So I look over basically how they're doing it. And some of the smaller stuff, I will redo all. I used to do all the calculations, re-go. I mean, again, I just wanted to make sure they were in the ballpark, or that the sizing, I might do a calculation and just do a quick summary and see that they're sizing something at 2,000 amps. And I look at it and I say, well, crap, the load calculation is, I'll look at what they give me as a load calc, because I used to make them have to give me the load calculation in numbers. And if it was a 2,000 amp service and the load calcs were just for whatever reason, say 1,500 or just whatever, I would look at it and go, okay, they have some headroom here. I do a quick check, but no, I didn't reinvent the wheel for them, but I did make sure that their methodology of how they did the calculations jibed with the NEC. And if there's any deviation from that, they had to note it. And I might have a conversation with the engineer, because I did call them a lot and interact with them when I was at the city of Richmond. And then, of course, when I went to the city of Alexandria, I was more over code enforcement. I was more over the inspections and fire alarm and stuff like that. So less involvement with drawings that way than I was with the city of Richmond. I don't know if that answers your question, but there you go. Okay. Let's get into some exam prep questions today. And let's do some. So this is coming out of the database. This is out of database 14. If you're in our Fast Tracks program and you're going to the very bottom of your program, you will see that we have a database. This database is something we purchased. I do not write these questions. So you may get a wonky or two wonky questions, but I can tell you something. I just did my Virginia CEUs, okay? Because I could issue my own, but I like to see what other courses. So I audit all of our courses that we partner with. So I use the CEU programs that are available through our website and the partner, right? And I did it. And it was Virginia. And I renewed my contract, all my licenses renewed. And some of the questions were wonky. And I let them know of which ones I thought were wonky, because they had just got approved for the Virginia renewal. You have to renew it every time a code changes, and some of them were wonky. So I let them know, because I'm like, you know what, ambiguous questions really don't help anybody, and these guys are already licensed. So why would you want to have an ambiguous type of question? Be clear. But again, that was just me just volunteering to let them know, because they are kind of partners in that scenario. So anyway, so you might get some wonky questions on the exam. Don't let it freak you out. Also, I should mention, for you guys that are taking the exam, if you're in the exam and you get a question that's wonky, if you read that thing and you're like, what the hell did it just ask? Mark that sucker electronically and skip it. You can get it in the second wave. relax. I think I hear from so many students that they ran out of time on the exam, that they spent too much time on a single question. God, don't do that. Okay, mark it and skip it, because if you follow the 3-wave method, then mark it C. The answer is always C. If you mark it, you come back on the second wave. Okay, and if you answer it, you unmark it and you just keep going. But you'd be surprised after you go through questions that sometimes you go through the ones that you know, you'll get a little more relaxed. And then you'll start thinking a little more freely, and that anxiety will start to lessen up a little bit. So follow the process. Don't freak out on an exam. And for God's sakes, don't let one question get you so bogged down that you get behind. You start staring at the clock. Don't do it, okay? Follow our 3-wave method. It's the best way to do it, no doubt. Okay, so here we are in this question right now. Now, this is a kind of question that you get on an exam that you should just know right off the bat. When you look at it, you're like, this makes sense to me, all right? Because this is more like a question that's pretty common sense driven, but you read it, but it looks long. A long question, and I know some of you may not be able to see the question, okay? Also, this series does have timers. I don't recommend you use the timers. If you're down to the last 2 weeks and you're doing timing, I recommend you just use a 2-minute timer on your clock, on your phone, and do each question individually. Don't try to do them all in 60. It's just, no, do this. Now, when you get down to the last 2 weeks and you're doing all these questions, when you get down to you've done all these, you get down to a couple days before the exam, then you can go to the questions that are timed, and you can practice those if you want. But again, if you want to just do a 2-minute timer all the way through, that's fine too. Because what I want you to get used to doing is really focusing on a question so that you can try to answer that question in under 2 minutes. And then you can take a pause, and then you can do another question and try to do that. You know what I'm saying? All right. So here it says, regardless of the voltage of the electrical system, so regardless of voltage, it says the electrical continuity of normally non-current carrying metal parts of electrical equipment, raceways, metal-clad cable, and other metal enclosures in any hazardous classified location as defined in Article 500.5, 505.5, or 506.5 shall be blank. Bonded, aluminum, PVC, or listed. Okay? All right, so think about this question for a second. If I look at this question, we already know that they all have to be listed, right? But when I see a question like this and it starts saying stuff like this, electrical continuity of normally non-current carrying metal parts, raceways, and all this kind of stuff, all this part here, this draws me out. And granted, I'm a grounding and bonding guy. I'm Code Panel 5. I focus on this stuff a lot. But when I look at this and I think all of this stuff has to be listed anyway. What does aluminum have to do with it? What does PVC? PVC is not conductive. That's a no-brainer. So on an exam, I increase my odds by throwing out PVC. So now I have a 33% chance of getting this thing right? Because I got bonded, I got aluminum, I got listed. Well, we already know it's supposed to be listed, right? So I'm thinking, look, what do I have to do to ensure electrical continuity on all these metal parts? Well, they all have to be bonded together, right? So that's where my mind goes on a question like this, okay? But also so one of the things, though, is we'll go to the NEC real quickly, and I'm shocked this worked right off the bat, so we got something going right today, because normally that wouldn't work. But I go down to 250, and if I'm perusing these things down here, and I go down, then I'm down here at bonding, because we're talking bonding, and here you see specifically, and this will be something you forever remember, and that's why we do this. That's why we did not go to the index. We're like, okay, I'm going to give you something that you're going to forever remember. The bonding. All the stuff about bonding, and when it comes to 250, when it talks about bonding, here it says bonding in hazardous classified locations, 250.100. And what does it say? And by the way, it is under bonding, okay? And here's what it says, verbatim. It says, regardless of the voltage of the electrical system, the electrical continuity of normally non-current carrying metal parts, that'd be the frame, that would be the enclosure, yada, 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 in metal clad cable and all that, blah, 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 of any hazardous classified location, okay? There you go. And all this information it says right here, any bonding method, and it gives you the code references for the bonding method. Again, 250.92B2 through B4. That means you can't use the grounded neutral conductor, but it gives you other ways, and it basically acts like this assured bonding that you would have at a service, okay? That type of thing, because that's what, and I'll click it so you can see. That's exactly, for example, right here. Methods of bonding at a service. That's just a higher level of bonding that we have to do. And it gives you some options here. But you'll notice that you can't use number 1, okay? Because that would be bonding to the grounded service conductor. Can't do that. We're on the load side, right? We're bonding hazardous location things, right? So, but we have all these other options down here to do, okay? So, anyway, that's where that one was. Now, I could probably go back in the index and I will see if this works. Let's see if, let me make sure I share the right one, because again, I would screw this up. And I could go down here and I could probably go down to hazardous locations, because again, that would be dissecting. And let's see. You got your code book, you can go. So here's hazardous locations, but let's just go to the general hazardous locations right here. All right, and let's just see if there's anything in here that might get us anything. Let's just see here what might be in here. So I'm looking, I see nothing here that would be beneficial. So here's classified locations, okay, bonding, 501 to 30, probably going to say very similar information. Let's see here. Let's get down here. Grounding, very similar, but it's not the one we're looking for. Hazardous locations. These are the zones. Okay, let me just go down here through zones really quickly. I like looking. I like seeing what's in here. All right, let's see nothing specific. Let's go down here. Don't see anything. And it has this location classified, so we got more. So we got bonding. So this is 502.30. I don't know where 502.30 may send us. Okay, so we could go look at that to see if it sends us on a different journey. But I'm just looking down here, more bonding. So everything seems to be .30 in bonding. And I just want to see if there's anything else. Since I'm here. Here's so 506 and 505 were given in the question. So I'm just looking down here, and it's for craps and giggles. All of these seem to give us the .30 for bonding, right? You get me? So I just for craps and giggles, let's go back here, and let's see here. Let me go share this tab. If it does it, okay, it did it. It did it, so we didn't get lost. And I'm just going to go real quick because we can. Because this is what you should be doing. You should be dissecting the questions. And so this is what sets us apart. This is kind of how you do it. So I'm going to go to 501.30 real quick just to see here. So this is grounding and bonding right here. And I want to do this here. And let's see here. What reference is it giving in here? Specific bonding, lock nuts, double lock nuts, yada, yada. It's giving us some reference in here. So it does give us 250.102. Doesn't necessarily give us 100. But it says shall be bonded in accordance to 250.102. Let's see, it talks about 251.02. It also gives us that. So again, you have to understand the flow. So I go to 250 because that's naturally where I would go when it comes to that. And I happen to have known that there was something in there for hazardous location and bonding specific in 100. Forever now, you know now. But if I were to go here, I probably can still get the answer if I go here, because ultimately I would go to 251.02 and this gives the method, right? That type of scenario. But I would probably at that point bold scan and I would get there. But Either way, I think it's important for me to make it clear that the index is not the holy grail. Okay? It's not the holy grail. I mean, I could have gone under bonding, maybe in the index, and look under bonding, right? And it's might be something under bonding, but you should do that. You should go look and see if there's anything for you under that for bonding. All right, I'm just going to go look and see real quick. I won't take you there. I just go look and see if there's anything under bonding. There's bonding, and if I look at bonding, it says 250 Part 5, so I could have gone to Part 5 and do the bonding. But let's see if there's anything specific under there that talks about hazardous locations. All right, it ends up sending me to hazardous locations, okay? Other than that, I'm just looking down to see if there's anything else that might get me where I need to be. No. So if you go into this and you think that just because you have an index, that it's going to take the place of you studying and looking these things up, you're mistaken. But if you look at a question like this is where common sense must kick in. Okay, these products already have to be listed, okay, to go in their use. All raceways have to be listed, okay? If the enclosure is designed for a hazardous location, then it has to be listed. Not all boxes have to be listed, but if it's going to go in a specific hazardous classified location, then it's going to be listed for that. It has to be evaluated for that. So the listed is obvious, but for me, the question is talking about continuity of all these metal parts. And so how do I achieve that? I only achieve this by bonding everything together properly. And what do I have to use? I have to use the more enhanced bonding techniques that the same way that I would have to do for services. And that's why it directs us to 250.92. Okay? So those type of concepts are something that you just got to get used to reading a question. Right? So again, I would say it's bonded. There we go. And what reference? 250.100, okay, is the exact reference for that. All right, next question. Let's read the question here. It says the connections for a grounding electrode conductor, right? So a GEC, and we're slowly going to see the acronyms go away. I don't know if I told y'all this, but the code making panels are wanting to get rid of acronyms and move away. That is the direction. And this all started, I'm going to be honest with you, this all started when one of the, somebody said that that the bonding jumpers, that the use of the phrase BJ was offensive. And I'm like, Jesus, grow up. I mean, I know for apprentices and people on job sites and immature people that are starting into the trade will make, jokes about certain stuff like, but come on, let's grow up. We're in a profession. Okay? This is our profession. So anyway, enough of that. I thought it was a joke. I laughed and I said, whatever. I'm like, whatever. If that offends you, then buckle up, Buttercup, because you're about to get, if you're in this trade, you're going to get offended. That type of thing. All right. So in this question right here, the connections for the grounding electroconductor for a single separately derived system. So first of all, we identify that this is a separately derived system. Okay. And you and I that are savvy, or maybe have our grounding and bonding course, you're savvy in the system, and you understand these things, that you're like, okay, I know that in 250, Article 250, when it comes to ground electroconductors, I know what it is for a dwelling, right? I'm used to 250.66. I'm used to all that stuff for the building. But isn't there something in the NEC, in grounding and bonding, in Article 250, that deals with, and you see our theme today, by the way. Is there something in there that deals with a separately derived system, like a transformer, when I have one transformer and I have to establish a grounding electrode system for it? I have to connect it to the grounding electrode system. I'm going to have a grounding electrode conductor for this separately derived system. And what do I do with it? Okay, so there is a place in the code for that. So let's kind of go through the process here. All right, so we know we're talking about a GEC, and it's for a separately derived system, and it says shall be made at the same point on the separately derived system where the system blank jumper is installed. Okay, so I don't even have to go look this one up, okay? Y'all should know this. This is part of understanding definitions, although we will show you where this is in the code, by the way. This is one of those that you know that there is no such thing as a grounding blank jumper or system grounding jumper. There's no such thing as a system phase jumper. You should know this by now in your trade. If you put in the time, you're getting ready to take an exam or you're learning the code. That meant that you had to put in a certain amount of prerequisite hours in order to sit for an exam. You know that there's no such thing as a system grounded jumper. You know that there's only one logical choice in here. But let's assume we did not, right? And we're trying to find out something about the GEC, where it's making connections. So I'm dissecting this question on a separately derived system. I need to know, where do I connect the GEC and what's the nuances, whether or not it's this something jumper. Because it could be where? At the separately derived system, or it could be at the first disconnect, okay? Kind of a hint there where it could be at different locations, right? All right. So we're going to go look at the NEC. So if we were to go look at the NEC, and of course it's not working this time. There we go. And if I were to go here, I'm going to go to the index, right? And let's just share the index. So here's the index. We'll kind of look at it in this view so we don't pull away in case anybody has any questions over here. And I were to go, and I'm going to look under grounding electrode conductor. Remember I said this is dissection, by the way. This is what you do when you're taking advantage of your questions. All right, I'm going to go, okay, so I'm going to go to grounding electrode conductor real quick. So I'm just going to go there. Some of you might go just right to separately derived system, and that's okay. But I'm going to go to grounding electrode conductor. So I'm going to go down here and do it. It's just probably much easier for you guys. Let me move this. I can't see my thing here. So let me go. Let's go down to grounding electrode conductor. So I'm down to G's. So here's grounding conductor. Let's see here. And it's harder for me to see because I am half blind, folks, these days. So bear with me. If I'm slow finding it, you'll probably find it a lot quicker in your code book. Okay, so here's grounding electrode conductors. Okay, and it also says see also electrodes. Okay, all right. But anyway, I'm going to start here. So we're at grounding electrode conductor. I want to go down. So I want to see if it's talking about something about separately derived system. All right, and I get down and boom, it didn't take me long right here. Separately derived system 250.30. And then many of you have probably already realized that underneath that, you see where it says sizing 250.30, right? And that's the first one. And then you see 250.66, which is familiar with the, for like a dwelling. And then you see the 250.66 and you see, oh, wait a minute, that's a DC. So you kind of see the stacking that's going on here, right? So we're going to go to 250.30. That's where we're going to go. But before I do that, I do want to see if we have another reference that may help us. Remember, we're dissecting the questions. I want to see if there's anything under separately derived system because I want to make sure that I have multiple chances to get this right if something drew me to separately derived system. This is how we dissect the question, by the way, for anybody that's new, that's never been here. And again, trust me, I get people that say, and I'll get comments. Can you guys believe that people will send me comments and say, you take too long on a question. You only got 2 minutes. That's no way to teach anybody. You need to shut the F up and go somewhere else because you're an idiot. I'm just saying. There's a method to our madness. We're trying to study. We're trying to become better. We're trying to get better in the code. If an educator is telling you that you don't learn to dissect it and really use what you paid good money for, then you need to find a different educator. They don't know what they're talking about. And I'll say it to their face. Tell them Paul said it. I'm right here. I'm easy to find. They can find me at meetings, at conferences. Have them come up to my face. If you're an educator and you think I'm wrong, come up to my face. I don't shy away from anybody. I'm ready to have a debate anytime. That's what I also tell people. If I'm out somewhere and they say, Paul, I'm going to question your code knowledge, I'm available, okay? Whether you're one of those other educators who want to say stuff on Facebook, I'm always available. You want to have a code challenge? You want to do it live? with me and you, be prepared to get embarrassed because I'm ready. I'm always ready. Whether I'm at a conference, I used to do that at NEMA. If I'm on the dais, I loved you shooting me questions. And if you want to disagree with me, that's fine. But you better bring the goods because I like to argue. I love a good debate. And I don't mind hurting your feelings. It's okay. All right, so let's go to, and it doesn't make me conceited. That doesn't Paul thinks he's full of himself. No, I am confident in what I study. I am confident in what I teach. And I'm confident that I can help you get better at the NEC. I'm just confident. It's a difference between being cocky and confident, okay? All right, and as every contractor out there, you need to be confident. Every person that's getting ready to take an exam, you need to be confident. It's not cocky. If you know it, you know it, okay? All right, anyway, enough of that. All right, let's go to separately derived system because I want to see if there happens to be anything under there. Let's see here. Y'all are following along, and let's see here. Okay, let's get down here. Okay, separately derived systems right here. We do see under separately derived systems, there is a 250.21, there's a 250.28, there's a 250.30. Okay, all of these, let me show you right here. Oh, you can't see it right here. All of these would be fair game for me to write down on my scratch pad in an exam, right? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about a separately derived system. And the moment that I saw Article 250, the moment I saw that, I know what is 250 about. It's grounding and bonding. My question is talking about grounding electroconductors. It's talking about separately derived. Ding, 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 ding. And then I can go there and I could bold scan and I'm looking for things that are in the question. I'm looking for the phrase separately derived system. I'm looking for the phrase single separately derived. I'm looking for all those things. That's the bold scanning technique that you'll get better over time when you do it. And it's going to make you better in the field too, because you'll be able to, in the field, grab that code book. You don't have to memorize everything. Nobody's that great that they memorize everything. You just have the ability to look it up and know how to maneuver through the code. Dude, this code book is stupidly difficult. And it's written stupidly difficult. Okay? I'm hoping that the 2029, which is not going to change it technically, but the navigating of it, that's why I'm on board with the change in 2029. Yeah, I've got to learn new code references. Yeah, I got to learn all this crap that's new, but I'm all for it because I think that they finally, maybe we get it, that we need to make the code flow a little logical rather than having to go over here, then jump back over here, then jump back over here, then jump back over here. I feel like I'm doing the Trump. I want to make it easier to follow, and I'm hoping that 2029 does that. At least that's my hope, okay? And I want to be a part of it and try to make it better for everybody, okay? I don't know that I want to be on code panels by then, but at the end of the day, we want to make it better. Oh, anyway, so here you go. So under separately derived system, we at least can get in the ballpark, and then we can do some bold scanning, that type of thing, all right? Remember, it also gave us electrodes. Y'all remember? When it said under grounding electroconductor, it said also see electrodes. Well, while we're here, since we're dissecting, let's go look at electrodes because I want to show you how the dissecting really can benefit you. Okay, and it's all about being able to find it. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to go under electrodes and see if there happens to be anything under electrodes. Okay, so I am under grounding electrodes right here. Okay, y'all see it? All right, so I'm just going to come down here and see what we've got under separately derived systems right here. Dot 30, dot 30, dot 52, dot 68. Oh, wait, wrong one right here. Here you go. Dot 30, dot 30, dot 30. Dude, we found it in 3 different locations, no less. So if you're taking an exam, relax. The more you learn how to look at a question, break it apart, and that is why we teach dissection. Okay? If you have an educator that's telling you differently, run, because they're just taking your money. I'm just honest. Okay? I don't think I'm special, but after nearly 40 years of doing this, focusing on exam prep, I mean, I do consulting and I teach the code and things like that. But if y'all noticed over the last 5 years, I am an expert in teaching the code and how to find things and how to look it up and how to learn the code. And these are proven methods. Okay. So anyway, it's not brain surgery. It's just proven method. All right. So anyway, with that said, let's go to the code and we're going to go to 250.30 where it said go. All right. So we're going to go 250.30. All right. Make sure I'm good there. Let me close this down. Okay. So here you see we're at grounding. Oops. Let me share this tab instead. Hold on here. This one instead. Okay. So here we're at 250.30. We're at separately derived system, alternating AC system. Okay. All right. And here we're at here. And we're going to go down. So here we're at. Okay. So we already see the phrase system bonding jumper. Okay. We already see this phrase. So again, in the question, it was system blank jumper. We already see this phrase. So we probably already know, right, where we need to be. But we're trying to find out the rules for a single separately derived system. So there's a supply side bonding jumper. It's grounded. Okay, grounding electrodes. Boom. The grounding electrode conductor for a single separately derived system. Remember, dot 30. Okay, dealing with separately derived system, like a transformer, separately derived system. All right. So again, you go down all this, everything, it tells you everything right here that you need to know. But it says a grounding electroconductor for a single separately derived system shall be sized in accordance with 250.66 for the derived ungrounded conductors. And derived is a fancy way of saying whatever's coming off the secondary, they're being derived from the transformer, okay? Created, originated, however you want to say it. That's the term derived. Some people hate that term derived, but that's what it is, okay? And you go on to there, and now it go on, but we're at this point right here because in our brain, we saw this right here, okay? Same point. That was in the question. Same point, same point. So we saw it, and here's what it says. It says, this connection shall be made at the same point on the separately derived system where the system bonding jumper is connected, okay? And that answers our question. Okay, so obviously this is a system bonding jumper. Now, I know that all of you probably knew this answer right away, but it's the journey that we had to go on. It's the journey of dissection that means the most to me. Questions are just questions, but if I really took the time to explain dissection to you, the methodology behind it, why we do it, why we beat a question to death, that it's going to make you better, not just to prepare for an exam. You can worry about your timing when you get closer to your exam. Right now, we're just getting focused and we're getting our money's worth when it comes to a question, okay? All right, let's do it. Let's see here. Another question here. All right, let's do another one here. Let's see here. Okay, let's end on this one. We have a single phase 240 volt circuit with 3 AWG. Oh, this is going to be fun. Watch what we're going to do here. Let's just see if this works. All right, y'all ready? Our sponsor today is, as always, Trade Hog. And I'm surprised that nobody at this point said, Paul, feed the hog. All right, well, we're going to calculate it out and we're going to test the hog. Let's see what the hog says. But we've got a single phase circuit, 240 volt circuit. We're using 3 AWG aluminum conductors, okay, supplying a 40 amp load that's 300 feet away from the power panel. We'll have a voltage drop of how many volts? What's the voltage? So we're using our voltage drop formulas here. And in this one, we're trying to solve for the voltage drop. Okay? And remember, there's some givens. Now, first thing to remember, this is single phase. So in our formula, we're using a 2. Okay? 2. Okay? Right? Not a 1.732 because that would be 3 phase. So it would be 2. And then, of course, we know what the actual load is. It's 40 amps at the end. That's what it gave us. We know the distance. We have to know these things to do an adequate voltage drop calc. We know the distance, 300 feet away, right? And we know that it is a 3 AWG, okay? So we have all of the variables here. We already know the distance, and we know everything that we need to know. So we can simply do 2 times k times I times L divided by the circular mil of the 3 in question, right? But let's see if the hog, drum roll, I don't know if the drum roll works here, but we're going to put the hog, I just thought of this, by the way. We're going to put the hog on the spot. All right, so let's go here, and I'm going to get the hog right here. And we're going to share the hog. All right, we're here at the hog, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to paste this question in there. All right, let's see what the hog says. And by the way, Jeff is constantly fine-tuning the hog and everything like this. And let's see what it says. Okay, so calculate the voltage drop, yada, yada, yada. It's got a bunch of this stuff. It says a 3 aluminum conductor. It got the ohms is 0.253. That came from chapter 9, table 8. I like so far. It says the length is 400 amps. The resistance here, plug in the formula. And it says, therefore, the voltage drop for the circuit is approximately 24.24 amps. Volts, okay? I believe I disagree with this, okay? And question. So we are going to test. We're going to test the hog and see what the values, because I believe that we got. Oh, wait a minute. It is. It looks like it forgot something here. So hold on. Watch this. So let's see. It's a 240 volt circuit, right? And let's see what the hog says. And I'm going to show you what I think the hog did, right, is it forgot what voltage we're trying to achieve at the tire length, okay? So I want to double check this. So let's see here. If I don't like it, it looks like the hog is, we screwed the hog today. 24 actual volts, okay. Voltage drop of volts. Okay, so we're going to do the math ourselves. So we're going to test the hog. So the hog, looked like the hog may need fine tuning today. Let's see if the hog is right or our question is wrong. All right, so let's see. Oh, wait a minute. What if we limit it to 5%? Let's see here. Am I still on it? Yeah, I'm still on the hog. Okay. Say here, not exceed 5%. What does it say here? 5% of voltage, increase, yada, yada, large cross-sectional area, reduce the circuit length. Voltage. Oh, it's trying to do a further calculation to do that. Okay. I don't think I agree with any of these. So let's work it out ourselves. So let's not look at the hog. The hog for the loss, in my opinion. The hog for the loss today. So let's work this out ourselves. Okay, let me get the calculator. This is why I wanted to do it. And I actually had already tested the hog on this one earlier, and I knew that it was coming up with some wonky stuff. So we want to check to ours. So let's get our scratch paper. Oh, let me get you back to me so you can see me so we can work this out together. All right? Okay. Scratchy paper. All right? Got the pen. So I'm going to do this so you can see it, but I don't have the ability to share a write on the screen. I don't have that ability. Yeah, I think we do have the module, but I don't have it plugged in. So 2 times an aluminum is going to be what? So what is the value that we're using for the aluminum? Y'all know what the value is for aluminum? Okay. So the aluminum constant, the constant K is what? Anybody know? Let me hear in your chat. I'll write it down. And then, of course, times the length, 400. Is it 400? No, 300 feet, sorry. 300 feet, and it's 40 amps. All right, and I'm going to double check. I broke the hog. Yeah, that's a complex question. It's not really a code question. There you go, 21.2. There you go. So it's the difference is a hog is more looking for code. And so we're going to be training the module to probably try to, because voltage drop is not a requirement for these applications, So that is the challenge with the hog because we only want it to look for code references, encode things. And so if I had asked the office hog, it might have thought of it differently, but this is just looking for code. And so that is probably the hog. We don't want it to do things that aren't backed up by code. So that's probably the reason for that. But I, as always, and again, I'm looking over at him, he's on notice because I want the hog to be better than that. So it will get worked into the model. But let's do the math. Let's do this real quick. All right, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want to go see what the circular mills first. I want to go see what the resistance is for a 3 aluminum. I'm going to do that first. So let me go over to here, right? And I'm going to bring back here really quickly. I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to go, let's do this together. Great way to end the day is let's go down here, and I'm going to go to chapter 9. I'm going to go to table 8. Okay. If you all are in link, by the way, it won't say that. You have to go to what's called conductor properties. It doesn't really say that. So you have to go down here. So I'm here, right? And I want to blow this screen up, although I'm probably going to have to slide around for you. And let's see here. I'm going to pin it, and I'm going down, and it's a 3 right here. So I got to go all the way to the right over here, okay? And I got aluminum. And see, that's where it was kind of, so the aluminum per 1,000 feet is 0.403, okay? So it's 0.403. But here's what I want to do. I want to try this and do this way. I'm going to go back over here, and I want to plug in the circular mills of this 3, and it is 52,620. So I'm going to do 52,620 in my calculation, okay? All right, so let's get there you go, Paul's worked it out, all right? So let me do this my way. Let me get the calculator, find my calculator. Oh, I should mention, folks, for those that are behind the scenes over on Instagram, we are in our boycott of TikTok, by the way, in case you didn't know. We're in our boycott of TikTok. So we are streaming behind the scenes over on Instagram, for all those over on Instagram. Appreciate you. All right, so let's go. I'm going to go 2 times 21.2 times 300 times 40. Okay, and that is 508,800. And I'm going to divide that by 52,620. And I divide that by 52,620. So I didn't like how the hog tried to calculate it out. And it also had the wrong value for the resistance. Okay, so I don't like how it did that. So we're going to retrain that module. Now I got to be careful because I don't want the hog to start opening it up and being more generic. I want it to be code driven. So we're going to have to walk a fine line with that. So anyway, I did the math, and as y'all can see, it is 9.669. So we're rounding it to 9.67. Okay. And of course, that is how we do it over here on the lesson. Right here. 9.67. Right here. Okay. Now, that's a great example where and people say, is artificial intelligence going to take over the job as you as an electrician, me as an educator? Absolutely not. Because obviously, I knew what the hog was going to do so that I could turn this into a little lesson to do the calculation for you, okay? So I did the math, right? 2 times 21.2 times 300 times 40, okay, which was 508,800, and then you divide that by the circular mills of the conductor that they presented in the question. And that is how we got 9.669, which rounds to 9.67, or the best plausible answer on the screen, okay? So I wanted to end on that because I want you to remember that TradeHog is designed to be technical. It's designed to not to go into the nuances of voltage drop, which is really optional, but a good idea, but again, it's depending on crap in, crap out, and how you ask the question. Now, We could train the hog, and I want Jeff to actually do it. But if I were to train the hog, watch this. And this is not going to circumvent what Jeff does, and I don't think we'll be okay with this. But I want to show you something really quick, just for craps and giggles. So let me come back to the hog. I just want to show you how we would do this. Okay, so see, I'm going to have an argument with the hog and see if it changes. I'm going to say, you are incorrect. Okay, so I'm a challenging person. I'm going to say incorrect. First, you have the wrong value for the resistance on a 3 AWG aluminum. Also, the voltage dropped is 9.67 volts. So your math is way off. Okay, I just want to see how she cusses me out or he cusses me out. Let's see here. So let me go. So I said, you are incorrect. And let's see what the answer is. Let's correct the calculation using the proper resistance for 3. All right. So here it is. Okay, look at here. It says 3 aluminum is approximately 0.197 per 1,000 feet. Right? Now watch. You are wrong again. The value for 3 AWG aluminum is, and again, let me double check that for 3 aluminum. Let me just double check it because I don't want to tell it's wrong and it learns the wrong module. Is 0.403. Is 0.403 at, now this might be a difference, 75 degrees C. All right, so watch this. I love doing this, by the way. Now, this is not going to screw up. Okay, there you go. So this is not going to screw up Jeff, but to me, it's using. It says, let's correct the calculation, okay? And here it says, according to Chapter 9, Table 8. So here, one of the problems is, folks, is that I never put in a temperature. I never told them the resistance, and so I needed to pull back the information. I needed to pull the information directly from the NEC without it having any thoughts of its own. So this is just an example of how we're training the hog in order to train it out to get you the value. Now, I did it the easy way, right? I did the easy way. Since they already gave me the conductor size, dude, I'm using the formula 2 times K times I times L divided by the circular mills because you gave me the conductor. You told me it was a 3. That's the easiest voltage drop formula in order to find the volts that are dropped, okay? It's easy. And we're talking about the actual volts that dropped, that type of scenario. So, yeah, so at the end of the day, that's how I do it. Now, somebody might say, well, Paul, does that exceed the, say it's a branch circuit. Is this exceeding the 3% on a branch circuit? Well, to do that, I'm just going to take that 240 and times it by 3%. And that's 7.2. So the answer to that is yes, it's exceeding the 3%. Right now, is it exceeding the overall, let's say 5%? Okay, because we don't know, we assume this is a branch circuit, but is it exceeding? Because you can do the overall circuit, it's 5%, 3% for the branch, then it reserves 2% for the feeder, it's 5% overall is the recommendation, but the recommendation for the branch is 3% per the NEC. But for craps and giggles is, so 240 times 5% is 12. So it may not exceed the 5% overall. So this is a branch circuit, it definitely would exceed the 3%. If this is a feeder, then it might not exceed the overall 5%. Okay, that type of thing. They're all recommendations in the code, but now you can see how we would play with these, and you should be playing with these, okay? Yeah, well, the hog is constantly learning, but you see how it learns And it's more in tune for giving you code and references in the code and less these things. But we're constantly working on it, and I am guarantee you Jeff is going to change the model so that it does this. But I got to be very careful because I don't want it to start bringing in opinions and things. I want it to be very code driven because it's been very successful so far. So I definitely want that. Okay. So anyway, answers right there. Again, this is trade knowledge. All right. And here again, so this is another question, for example, just to show you the hog. So let's copy this. Let's go to the hog since we're playing around and I'm already over time, and I hopefully will be able to get out of here and get to where I need to be in time. But I'm going to go up here and refresh and start a new hog chat. And I'm going to post this one in here. And I'm just going to click it and see what it says. There we go. All right, let's just see. I'm screwing with the hog today. Okay. It says, for ungrounded system, they must legibly be marked with caution, operating at blank volts between conductors at the source, yada, yada. Okay. Let's see. At the blank of the system, at the source of the system. Okay, so we got that right. Okay, so that tells us it's source. Okay, and then let's see, where else is the... Okay, so it says source. So let's go back to the question real quick. So we have an option of source. We had option of, first disconnecting means. Now we have either A or B, no, or none. Well, we saw that it said source, right? But the hog also gave us what? The hog also gave us code references, right? In 220.21, okay? So let's see here. It gives us some code references to go look at. 220.21c. So we'll go here real quick. And we'll sit here. And we'll just go down and see. I think y'all already know the answer to this one. Okay. So 250.21. Okay, so alternating right here. And let's see here. Did it give us references again? Yeah, 250.21c, remember? So here's A, B, C. Markings. There's that familiar blank, so we know we're good there. And it says, let's see. It says at the source or first disconnecting means, okay, of the system. All right? So, there. Now, again, we're training the hog, right? So the hog looked at it. Now let's go back to the hog because I want to train the hog. Okay, we'll go back to the hog. Always training the hog. Here, and we're going to go right here and say, you are wrong. The answer should be source and first disconnecting means as given in 250.21c as you referenced. Okay, all right, I don't know why I hit capital letters, but anyway. You're correct. I apologize for the oversight. And then here you see that it gets it right. So this is an example where this was purely out of code and it gave you the code reference to go look at, but the hog did not pull up the exact answer for the question. All right. So that just goes to show you that we're looking for things in the field, and that was a question that was written. And it's confusing the hog because it's a question that's written. It's not logically how you would ask it in the field. Okay. So if I were to ask it in the field, a different question, if I were to say, let's see here. Let's see. What are the hold on here. And Jeff's watching. Let's see. What are the marking requirements on ungrounded systems operating at a specific voltage between conductors. Just ask it that kind of question. Okay. There you go. So see how I asked this question? This is more of a field type of question. Oh, y'all can't see it. I'm sorry. All right, so I asked the question as if how I would in a field. I said, rather than an exam prep question, which again is, you have to get, I said, what are the marking requirements for ungrounded systems operating at a specific voltage between conductors? All right, what are the marks? This is kind of like how I would ask it in the field. And here's what it came back with. This is how we tune the model, okay? And this is why we try to do it so that you don't copy and paste code questions like from exam preps, because they can be wonky. This is how you would ask it in the field. And here it gives you the value, it gives you the code reference, and here you see what it said. It says this marking must be placed on both the source of the system and the first disconnecting means, okay? That type of thing. That is the accurate question and how you ask. So we're going to be working on the hog. We have to be careful. I want the hog to be something that's more responsive to just everyday layman questions. You get what I'm saying? Not the ones that come from exam preps, if you can understand why. Because I want things that are basically derived from how you would simply type it in the field. And it's a very fine line. And we're getting better. And this is an ongoing process. Hell, the hog hasn't been out more than a month, I guess. We are getting better and better, but this is what we're trying to do. And it's a fine dance that we're having to do with it, but it's going to get better and better and better. And so I like the fact that I asked the question and it came back with the answer that I wanted, that I knew. Okay, so that's the example. So here the answer is either A or B. Okay. So anyway, all right, let's do some contests. I know I waited too long for this. Let's do some giveaways. For those that are still around, thank you for hanging out. But let's do some giveaways real quick. We're at the end of this show, and I am running late, as always, but let's go. It's almost like I can never do a coffee hour in an hour. I can't. I just can't hold it. All right, Angel Santos. Hey, Angel. Let's see what you got here. You've got 12 Fast Tracks Tube subscription. All you got to do is go to Fast Tracks Tube, TRAX, by the way, and go to the top where it says member plans, sign up for a member plan, the free one, and then we will elevate you. Just let us know what your username is. And there you go, Paul said, it's now coffee hours with Paul. That wasn't the intent, but I guess that's what I turned into because I am one long-winded sucker. All right, let's go. I like to think that y'all are the benefactors of it. Over on Instagram, they get to see I still got coffee. It is so nice. Ready for life. Here we go. All right, and the electrician's knife. You're in that drawing for the knife. So you're in the drawing for the Ohms coin. You're in the drawing for the knife. Or you might end up just walking away with all of the goodies. Okay, I really love my knife. I don't go anywhere. It's upstairs on a keychain in my vehicle. I don't go anywhere without that little knife. I use it all the time. All right, let's do it again. Let's go. Give away some goodies. Let's go. Let's go. It is a lot. We covered a lot today. All right, AJ Basley, you got a Fast Tracks Tube subscription. Okay, the annual subscription. Just go to fasttrackstube.com. Go to the top where it says member plans. Click on it and then choose the free membership. Fill out the information, your username, email address, and go. and you can you'll get it once we elevate you. It takes 24 hours sometimes to get it elevated, but when we do, you'll get access to all those videos, the new interactive videos coming out, and all that type of good stuff. Check out fasttrackstube.com. And if you're any of you out there are not members of Fast Tracks Tube, you want to show some love, go get a subscription to Fast Tracks Tube. Okay, a lot of our videos are going to be moved over there because Facebook's getting rid of them. And then we're pulling them slowly. We're starting with the older ones, moving them over to Fast Tracks Tube, away from replays and things like that. So it's just the way it is. All right, let's do it again. Let's go. If you already had Fast Tracks Tube and you win it, we'll extend it to another year, or extend you out to a year, or we'll spin again if you want to spin again. But you got to already have it. You know what I'm saying? Liddy, what do you got? Up, Fast Tracks Tube, another Fast Tracks Tube. Man, that thing is hot on the wheel today. Okay, so just like I said, go over and sign up for your free membership. It is a $99 value. You'll get it for a year, and you can choose to renew it at the end of the year. We hope you'll stay with us, but that's your choice. But there you go. Go get that sucker. All right, let's do it again. I think it's an invaluable resource to have videos. And we don't just play our videos, by the way. We have other videos on there that we filter out that we think that are beneficial to nutrition. What the hell is going on with this? What? All right. Terrence, dude, I've been giving away all these daggone memberships now. This costs me money now. All right, Fast Tracks Tube, great. Terrence, if you already have Fast Tracks Tube, and you may already have it, and I think you were having troubles getting connected with it or not, but if you're not, we'll spin it again and get you up here again. So let's do another one, and let's see if this sucker right here is stuck on Fast Track Tube, because again, it's 99 bucks a pop. Every time I give one of those suckers out, I'd much rather give you a knife. I'm just saying. All right, let's go. I don't mind giving away goodies. We're also going to be adding Trade Hog even more to that. That can't be right. Rob, if you don't mind, I know you might want the tube, and if you go sign up for it, I'll give you the tube. But I got to spin this thing again. Something's not right. Something's not right. Even though I have no control over it, I'm gonna go broke from these Fast Tracks Tube giveaways. Rob, there you go. So you're in the knife. So you're in the knife drawing. Okay, so it worked. I don't know what the deal was with that, but you're in on the spin. Okay, guys, that's it for today. I am running grossly behind. I want to thank you all for taking the time out today. Adam says it's fixed. The wheel was hacked. Yeah, probably was. So anyway, guys, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Tomorrow, Friday, I will try to do something special for you. Maybe I will do the ampacities, and we'll talk a little bit about adjustment and corrections. And so if you have questions, bring your questions tomorrow about adjustment and corrections. Continuous loads, 125%. We'll talk about 210.19. We'll talk about 215.2. We'll talk about the tables, 310.15b11, 310.15c. We'll kind of do a recap at the end of the week. We've probably already done this, but we'll do a little recap so that you understand ampacities. We'll even talk about that old question everybody asks about EVSE and the ampacities, and if I were to run non-metallic sheath cable to it, can I go to the next standard size? And the answer to that, short answer to that, is you can, as long as you don't exceed the 60-degree column of ampacity. So a lot of people say, wait a minute, you can use 240.4B for non-metallic sheath cable? Well, sure you can. Why not? As long as you don't exceed the 60-degree column. That's what it says in 334.80. It doesn't say anything about the overcurrent protection. So anyway, all that kind of good stuff. We'll talk about that stuff tomorrow. I appreciate all of you. You have no idea how I appreciate you for taking the time to join me. And I didn't even finish my coffee. I talked so much today. All right. Hopefully you got something out of it, folks. If you missed anything, watch the replay today at 5. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. Peace.